Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report one more time. Kaiser's out for a little bit of a walk this morning, and he'll probably come crashing through the door here at any given time, and he'll join us here in the studio. But I didn't want to hold up today. We have a lot of memes to put up and a lot of things to talk about. Basically, what's going on with this morning's news was the fact that Pete Hegseth and Raising Cane had a presser this morning to straighten out some of the lies that are coming out of especially CNN with regard to the devastation and damage that was done to the nuclear sites in and around Iran that were part of the mission of Midnight Hammer that took place last week. And we now understand that the leak that came out of the Pentagon, they're trying to track down that leak, but it was an early assessment given too early on to understand any of the intelligence that has come in since then. And the news ran with a leak that was literally put out in the news cycle by the same person that put out the Russia campaign with false documentation. So they straightened a lot out this morning with the press, and whether or not the press will accept what they heard from the Pentagon with Pete Hegseth and Raising Cane this morning, you have to wonder what's driving them other than hatred for Donald Trump and the fact that they cannot get over any success that comes the way of Donald Trump. Any success by this government right now under the command of the commander-in-chief will not be accepted by the news cycle, will not be accepted by the Democratic side of the aisle, and a handful of people on the Republican side of the aisle that will remain unnamed right now. But CNN continues with the leaks of false information and does it with abandon, and they do not care whether or not you're being fed the correct information, because you have to remember it's the propaganda arm of a party, a political party that does not want you to accept the president as he is today. And we're darn lucky to have this man sitting in the seat of power that he is right now.
This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You have some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. Boom! They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. Now, even they admit that it was hit very hard, okay? But it wasn't hit hard. It was hit brutally, and it knocked it out.
That is true.
The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration.
So let's take a look here at some of the intel leaks and inaccurate reporting given to us by the likes of CNN and MSNBC right here.
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives on the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated. and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed.
The key questions for the American people and the world are simply about the degree of success of the operation and the current state of Iran's nuclear weapons program and what the intelligence, not the politicians, what the intelligence reveals. Our obligation as journalists is not to praise President Trump or protect his feelings or to disparage him or to praise him for that matter. Our obligation is to report facts. In this case, the fact is that an initial DIA intel assessment out of Secretary Pete Hegseth's own Pentagon exists. And that's not going to change, no matter how many insults Trump levels. A lot of insults, by the way. In a Truth Social post, he calls CNN and the New York Times, quote, bad and sick people. Our obligation is to report facts.
Are you serious?
Turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
One of those drugs he mentioned, ivermectin, is something more often used to deworm horses. CDC says there's no evidence it works on COVID. Its increased usage has only led to a substantial increase in overdoses after a push by some on the far right citing vaccine misinformation.
CNN has settled a $250 million defamation suit Sandman filed. It's over a confrontation with the Native American man that made the teenager look like the aggressor. Here, a look back at just some of the media coverage.
It does look like that young man to me is taunting the Native American Vietnam vet.
The kid, Nick Sandman, he doesn't seem to be afraid, but he did make a choice, and that was to make it into a standoff. That was not a good choice.
Our obligation is to report facts.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Here are 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. Max Boot is a columnist for The Washington Post, a senior fellow for the Council on Foreign Relations, and a CNN global affairs analyst. 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. How many years in journalism have you been? How many years?
Many years.
Many years. Did you ever think you'd be writing this piece?
No. I mean, this is like something out of the Manchurian Candidate or the Americans. I mean, this is the realm of spy fiction becoming reality. It would have seemed bonkers until Trump, but it's not bonkers anymore.
So let's go through what is not bonkers, all 18 non-bonker items.
Our obligation is to report facts.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Our obligation as journalists is not to praise President Trump or protect his feelings or to disparage him or to praise him for that matter. Our obligation is to report facts.
Nice toy. What's wrong, Sid? Do you want to play with Sally?
Well, it's very easy to see that these people will run with anything they can and are told to run with to make you believe that there's fear that needs to be had by you, and they operate under the guise of fear. Keep the constituents afraid, and they'll keep voting for you. Well, they're in serious trouble right now. We all know and see this. We all know and see that the propaganda media that is out there putting out false information almost on a daily basis. And when they do question anybody in power, it's always a gotcha question that they're looking for the answer that they can run with, twist, and make you believe that that's not what they really said. That's not what they really meant. This is not news reporting. This is actors and actresses that are out there sitting in seats that are trying to bend the truth so you believe the falsehoods and worry. And I tell you every day, you cannot live your life in fear. You need to relax. You need to have trust in the people that you voted for. And unfortunately, we voted for a lot of people that are sitting in congressional seats and Senate seats that probably should not be there. And we'll see a little smattering of that as we go along with today's broadcast. But the big, beautiful bill, it's still stalled because they don't want to give Trump a win on this. And the American population, especially the middle class, small business, and business in general, a win. They don't want to see this happen. If you listen to that moron that they primaried and elected through the primary in New York City, that should tell you something. This guy is a crazy, as Trump put it, a crazy communist that will ruin the city of New York if he is elected as mayor of New York City. And I pray every day that these people stop getting elected into these positions of power that will cause more havoc, hate, and discontent and division around this country that is no longer necessary. We have a way out now. We have a way to get back to our constitutional abilities to keep this country as great as it always has been. And we have made mistakes along the way. And I'm not here to tell you that everything that was done by every president that sat in power was the correct thing. We got into wars we should not have been in. I don't even want to start naming the wars, but since the Great War of World War I, that was the war our grandfathers, my grandfathers, and my family's grandparents fought in that war. Some came back with wounds that were never healed, but they fought and fought well because they thought that that war was going to be the war to end all wars. And it was just a scant few years later that the 1930s happened, and we had a dictator that took over the country of Germany, and one more time we had to go back to another war, World War II, which our parents fought in and thought, and some of you younger people, your grandfathers fought in that war and did a great job in keeping and liberating the entire European theater as well as the Pacific. And we know what the ramifications were from that. We rebuilt those nations. We did. We went into Europe and helped France, helped Germany, helped Japan rebuild. We occupied for a certain period of time to make that happen. And these are things that you should have been taught in school, you younger people, that are misled by what wars were where and when. And it's a shame because when you go to the man in the street and start asking the questions of these people, you'll quickly see how education has failed in a lot of processes of what true history was. We went through 4 years and probably 8 years of Obama trying to rewrite history and make people believe that we're all bad here, but that's not the case. And now we have pride back in our military. We have a military that could accomplish what they did during this last foray and this process of completing a mission called Midnight Hammer. And we have, as you saw earlier, the news media that will not accept any kind of win by this administration and the people in charge at the Pentagon today, which are some very fine people. Whether or not you like one particular person or another is up to your personal opinions, but we have people right now in charge that know what they're doing. They're rebuilding the military back to its prowess that was once the best in the world and is now again becoming that way. And it was announced today that they are going to re-enlist the people that were put out of their military service after multi-millions of dollars of training was put into these people by the Biden administration for refusal to take an experimental shot that it was mandated that all military personnel should have. Welcome back, men and women in uniform that are willing to come back and make us all safer because you're out there holding the line against everything that is wrong. And speaking of everything that's wrong, it's almost incredible, but let's just understand that both sides of the aisle are complicit in keeping this big, beautiful bill from moving forward. And I don't know why we can't get over the fact that the DOGE cuts need to be done. The Voice of America was another thing yesterday that came up. They don't want to be defunded, but let's put it this way. It was formed back to keep people informed in countries that were where their information systems were turned off and all you got was propaganda. The Voice of America did a great job way back when. But since the advent of the internet and the advent of programs like this and the pure access to information by just a smartphone would indicate to anyone, we don't need to be dumping millions of dollars into the Voice of America. There's no need for it. So they're railing against cuts at the Voice of America. They're railing against cuts at USAID, which we now found out through DOGE's work was just willy-nilly sending checks to NGOs that we have no control over and no understanding of where the money was actually spent, except for a few programs that we found going on around the world, like a bent Sesame Street in Iraq and things of that nature that were almost funny if it wasn't such a travesty on the amount of money that was poured into these programs, these idealistic programs that were not a benefit to anyone anywhere in the world. It was not designed to work that way. So yes, it had to be cut out and cut back. We don't need to take our tax dollars any longer and spend them on nonsensical things that make nothing better for us here in America or anywhere else in the world. And nation building is over and done with. That's not what our president is going for right now. And speaking of our Senate, well, Nancy Pelosi's at it again. She just can't let go of January 6th. And, for somebody that was, I believe, and this is my belief, and it's not a proven thing, that the January 6th was designed and executed by Nancy Pelosi back when she still had a monicum of brain left. But she was into a rant the other day and could not come up with the name of the Electoral College. You've got to ask yourself, wait, what? But that's Nancy. Take a look here.
For health care, for working families, and for children everywhere, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you all. Do you know how important you are? I hope you know your power, because all of the things that we have talked about, whether the Affordable Care Act or expanding the subsidies or saving the Affordable Care Act when they try to go, or protecting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, would not happen without the outside mobilization. We can just do so much in the Congress. And in that regard, I wish you could have seen, or perhaps you did on TV, Hakeem Jeffries testified today before the Rules Committee. It was spectacular, but you heard some of it this evening. Earlier in the morning or in the night, this has been a long engagement. Our chair, soon to be once and future chair of the Budget Committee, Brendan Boyle, led the way, and he was fabulous, just spectacular. You're going to hear from him now. And again, we can do what we can do, but the outside mobilization, inside maneuvering, outside mobilization. Now let's just talk about what's happening here. This is a Republican reverse Robin Hood. They are taking from people who should have it, we need to help, and giving it to the richest people in America. Just as they did in 2017, the last time they had the White House and the majority in the Congress, they put a tax bill that gave 83% of the benefits to the top 1%.
She's funny. You have to give her that. And drunk sometimes and just stupid other times, I guess. But that brings us to the big news today that's going around one more time to the media in places that are really funny, and that's they call me daddy. Well, everybody is whipped up over the fact that the head of NATO, which, by the way, Trump had an excellent meeting with the NATO people with regard to getting more money being paid by the other countries to start to defend their own European theater and around the world of the NATO nations. And that was a great success, by the way. And he was very well received there, and the accolades for the program that he just completed, the mission that he just completed, was well recognized by this group of people. But the head of NATO called Donald Trump daddy, and it was kind of taken out of context. So it wasn't meant to be as it is being shown on several platforms here and around the news cycles. But it's really interesting, and there's some great things out there to look at and get a laugh at, because in this time and in this environment, if you don't stop and laugh, you're going to go crazy, because the world has actually changed dramatically, in case you haven't noticed, and there's less and less humor to be found in some of the things that especially the news cycles and our Congress provide for us. But let's take a look at They Call Me Daddy right here.
They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
Then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
That have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. You understand that?
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
Who's your daddy, Gary? Who's your daddy? You.
Oh, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No?
Do you
He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Do you regard your NATO allies, though, as kind of like children? And
Daddy, you're my daddy.
I'll have to ask my accountant about that.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News.
Good.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Do you regard your NATO allies, though, as kind of like children, and they're obviously listening to you and they're spending more, and you're obviously appreciative of that, but do you hope that actually they're going to be able to defend themselves, defend Europe on their own?
I think they need help a little bit at the beginning, and I think they'll be able to, and I think they're going to remember this day. And this was a big day for NATO. You know, this was a very big day. They took it. One of the gentlemen said, you know what? We've been trying to raise the rate for 30 years, he said, 20 years, from almost the beginning. And he's been there for a long time. He said, until you came along, it never happened. What you did is amazing. It's been sort of an amazing day for a lot of reasons, but also for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think they can do it without you, though, in the future? Can they do it without
Well, ask Mark.
States?
I mean, you have to ask Mark, okay?
Now, I hope you found the humor in that I find. And I love the baby Trump and Rubio and the news reporters from Sky News in Australia, which, by the way, I watch almost daily because especially their segments on lefties losing it. If you haven't tuned into that on YouTube, please do, because it will provide you with all the humor you need. And we have some people right here in our own Congress that provide plenty of humor, and they think that they're being serious. And we'll show you a little of that in a minute. But first, let me talk to you a little bit about a Joe Rogan program that I watched the other day that he had Bernie Sanders on. And Bernie Sanders went a little rogue again, but, you know, we know that he's a little bit round the bend sometimes with his thinking and what he believes. Well, he believes a lot of things that leave a lot to be desired, but one of the biggest things he comes up with is that Elon Musk you paid $270 million to get Donald Trump elected. He really believes that this is the whole reason that Trump was elected and Kamala lost. And Joe Rogan wasn't going to hear too much of that before he had to kind of set the record straight on. He said, can you tell us how much money was collected by the Harris campaign in their bid for the presidency? And he didn't know that. But Joe Rogan knew it, and he said, do you realize that she spent almost $1.5 billion and still went over by $20 million that she now owes? And he was left speechless. And he did not have the answer to that particular question. But Elon Musk is a bad man and has far too much money for one person to have. This is coming from a guy who lives in a beautiful home with protection around that home, and then has 2 other homes behind him. But he believes everyone in this country should be contributing to the people that do not have what he has with the hand. So Joe, in several spots, really embarrassed him, but he doesn't embarrass easily like most communists. He has to carry the party line. And don't you forget it. So they call me Daddy, but they call him Bernie. But anyway, let's take a look one more time at Jazzy Crockett, because she has done another beautiful job in our congressional seating during a vote that she was last in to vote and didn't like what was going on one more time. They could not stop her. This woman has to be the most uncontrolled ghetto rat that I've ever seen in my life. But we all know now that she's not really a ghetto rat. This is a pretend thing. And when you look at the Democratic Party anymore, you're looking at theater. Theater is how they storm into press conferences that are going on with Kristi Noem, and they storm into places that were detaining criminals and try to get them released. It's all an act. The entire Democratic Party right now, in case you haven't noticed, is a theatrical melodrama that is all built around, as Bernie would say, it is all built around getting rid of Donald Trump. And that's just not going to happen. You've got Green out there with his cane saying impeach Trump. You've got AOC trying to co-sign impeachment papers. It's craziness what's going on, and it's drama. And it's drama that we don't need in this country when we have the big, beautiful bill sitting on a table waiting to get passed into the president's desk. And if we don't do it and do it soon, they're going to hold up this country that can ill afford to keep crunching along without the tax cuts and without the necessary aid and money to make this country wealthy again. And his plan will work. We have seen it work with Ronald Reagan. We have seen it work before with Donald Trump. And why in the world this Congress feels that they need to sit on their hands like they did during the State of the Union address when Gold Star mothers were there and dying children were there, and they didn't have the respect to even stand up and acknowledge these people. This is what they're doing with the big, beautiful bill right now, and there are some GOP that are involved in this, and we need to take a look at what they're saying. Did the cuts happen? Yes, we need to cut, and we need to cut more, but they're fighting against the cuts that DOGE comes up with, such as Voice of America and USAID, and then the 20-some billion dollars that was skited away and put in offshore banks that Schumer is involved in. And, oh, yeah, he has heat stroke yesterday because he was going to be pressured into saying and doing something that would have backfired on his party. Well, the party for the Democrats is over, and in case you haven't realized that yet, you need to wake up because you're done. Let's take a look at Jazzy here.
We have decided, or actually y'all decided, that we wouldn't even debate why it is that we should or should not subpoena Elon Musk. In fact, y'all are just trying to get rid of the musky smell. The reason that people like me say things like y'all are in a cult is because I'm a big, dumb moron. Their agenda is pro-disinformation, pro-obstruction, pro-greed, and pro-exploitation. If you didn't know, that's what DOGE actually spells out. D, disinformation. O, obstruction. G, greed. And E, exploitation. That's stupid. STUPID. And I hope y'all remember who caused this, because it wasn't
the gentlelady's time has expired.
Also the congressional Republicans.
The gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee.
Thank you, Chair Lady. I would remind members of both sides of the aisle that President Trump's approval rating is soaring, and last I checked, congressional approval is not.
I now recognize.
So for clarification,
I now recognize Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts for 5 minutes.
I just want to clarify. I can give you the sources because
Mr. Lynch is recognized. Ms. Crockett, you're rudely interrupting Mr. Lynch's 5 minutes.
Well,
I've already said without objection, so ordered.
Then there we go. And we'll make sure
Mr. Lynch is recognized, Ms. Crockett, for 5 minutes.
Shut that hole in your face!
And here's Kaiser. He's back now. And that brings us into our segment that we like to call Stupid Town. And it can never dry up because they provide us almost on a daily basis now with the stupidity that exists within our country as we look one more time at Stupid Town.
London's School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has released research which says that nearly 600 heat-related deaths are expected in the UK. Malcolm Mystery, who is involved in the research, says that the aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
So this is a sanity check. If you can't tell me the difference between a man and a woman, then what happens is I don't want to hear your other argument because it's just that simple. Because again, this is a sanity check. We had a Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown, that was asked, can you tell me the difference between a man and a woman? And she said, I'm not a doctor. This is a sanity check.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
The men and women's sports, what is that, a 90-10 deal? I don't even know who the 10 would be. People don't want to hear about these stupid ideas that they have. We have a great country that's going to hell, and it's going to hell very fast.
Chartreuse and Aaron are in our weather center now to give us a special forecast for the rest of the night. Let's check in with them to see what we got going on.
Leanne, you got the name wrong. It's Air Money. Air Money, Char Money.
Well, Al Money.
I thought she said alimony.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, it's like you can make a joke. There's some drag name in that.
That is a good drag name.
That's what she said, and I was like, she was quick on that. Yeah. She was quick on that one.
This should be Al Money.
Yeah, Al Money. We got all the money. We are, this is Mother.
I am Mother.
You are Mother.
Amen.
What the hell is this?
Hello, everybody. I am Chartreuse Money, and today, as current temperatures right here, Saturday, it's 2:40 p.m., honey. It is 80 degrees here in Portland right now, honey, and we are feeling the effects. The sun is out. All it took was a pride parade to bring the sunshine out today, but honey, it is hot all over the state. We got 78 degrees in Lewiston. I know the people of Lewiston, Auburn are probably celebrating and jumping in the river. Please don't do that. Be safe, because it is hot, 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 and we need to find relief. Up next, we are looking at the satellite radar, honey. All of this lovely stuff is happening and moving, and we're zooming out, honey. All of this lovely
stuff is happening and moving, and we're zooming out.
That they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond in Iran?
Here's the country, honey. It is hot and humid in the central part of the country near Chicago, I'm seeing. And down there near Raleigh, honey, there is an H with circles, which I can only assume means hurricane. Doesn't mean hurricane,
High
honey.
pressure.
It means high pressure, honey. Don't worry. Don't worry. There is no hurricane coming Raleigh, North Carolina. Don't worry.
It's all going down the drain. Our country's going to hell in a handbasket.
Gorgeous sunset at 8:26, honey. So if you're outside, get a picture of that gorgeous sunset. I'm sure it's going to be stunnisha, honey. Oh my goodness, honey, grab a water bottle and grab some spritz because you're going to need to spritz yourself off. It's going to be hot, hot, hot. Honey, there is an H with circles, which I can only assume means hurricane. Oh, this is the rain?
This is the green, all the colors, yep.
The green means rain.
The green and the orange and the red and stuff, yeah.
Oh, fierce. Okay, well, honey, guess what? There's rain coming. Look out. 94? Honey, look out. It's going to be H-O-T-T.
You did everything I wanted you to do. That was incredible.
Bullshit. Oh, dude, that cheerleader.
Thank you, baby.
Wants me, baby. She wants me. She calls me up.
How
asks me for my
sweet
number.
it is to be loved by you.
Oh my God, you're gay.
The chair now recognizes the ranking member of the full committee, Ms. Waters, for 1 minute for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Wagner. However, it would have been more meaningful paying for, let me just say that the, Republican so-called big, beautiful bill has a provision that would dismantle the PCAOB and move its functions under the SEC. The PCAOB is the crown jewel of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002.
12 seconds later.
Let me just say that the Sarbanes-Oxley Act is the crown jewel of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board.
You just said
The PCAOB is the crown jewel of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Sarbanes-Oxley Act is the crown jewel of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board.
Well, which is it?
Well, now that you've had a visit to Stupid Town and got a little smattering of what's going on in and around the country and the world today, we're going to say have a beautiful rest of this Thursday. Go out and enjoy God's given weather, because in most cases it's very warm throughout the eastern section of this country, and I believe most of the west as well. So go out, get some sunshine, suck in some vitamin D for yourself, and remember that all power and glory go to our God and his Son, Jesus Christ, in this country. So pray, and pray often, that our leaders come to their senses and do what's right for the United States of America and the rest of this world. God bless you all. Have a great Thursday evening. Bye-bye now.